Hopefully you read all that, because if you didn't, you have no idea what we're doing. So let's get started. Here we are in After Effects, guys. We're going to open up a new comp with the measurements 1920 by 2160. Name this Tilt Down and give it a time of 1 minute and 20 seconds and hit OK. Next, we're going to add a solid, the same size, and make it black. From there, let's add our stars by going up to Effect, Noise and Grain, and adding a fractal noise. To create the look of the stars, we'll put in these values. Set the contrast to 500, the brightness to -200, click the drop down on Transform, and enter a scale of 1. Bam! We have our stars. In the opening of the video, we panned down to an Imperial Star Destroyer that I animated in Cinema 4D. I'm including this in the project file link below so you can recreate it if you want. Next, we'll grab that ship and drop it into our comp and throw it down the bottom. From there, we'll create a new comp, but this time we'll change the parameters back to Full HD at 1920 by 1080, call it Final Comp, and hit OK. Next, grab your tilt comp and drop it in. We'll then animate the position of the comp to pan down to reveal our ship. Select the tilt comp, hit P on the keyboard, and scrub through the clip until the 1 minute 10 second mark. Hit the stopwatch and move forward 5 seconds and tilt down until you can see the ship. We'll then highlight both keyframes, right click on them, head to Keyframe Assistant and select Easy Ease. This will aid in making the movement, a little bit smoother. Now it's time to grab your Star Wars logo. You can find a Star Wars logo online just by searching, but if you want a custom logo, I suggest heading to the link in the description below and downloading the font for free. Either way, you'll end up with a logo. Go to the start of the comp, hit S on the keyboard and scale it up until it takes up most of the frame. Hit the stopwatch, scrub forward 10 seconds and scale it down until you're happy it matches well. We want a nice smooth animation, so let's highlight both keyframes, right click to bring up Keyframe Assistant and select Exponential Scale. This creates a keyframe for every frame in between our animation. We'll then hit T on the keyboard to bring up opacity and set a keyframe just as it's hitting the end of the animation and another at the end of the animation. And then we'll turn the opacity down to 0 to get a nice fade out. Last piece of the puzzle, the crawl. Create a new comp with the same size again and hit OK. Grab the text tool and set the font to Franklin Gothic Demi Bold. I'm pretty sure this font comes with After Effects, but if it doesn't, you can find a substitute in the links below. Now, let's type out our crawl starting with the episode number, then we're going to type out the title and some placeholder text, and then change the parameters once we've got everything in place. We'll then highlight the title, change the font to Franklin Gothic Medium Condensed, and tweak the settings. We'll change the stretch vertical to around 180%, the stretch horizontal to 95%, and just have a general play until it looks right. Once we're done, we'll head down to the main spiel and type whatever the hell you want. Once you're done, head up to Composition Settings and we'll change the parameters of the comp to accommodate the size of your crawl. You'll have to reposition your crawl to fit in the center of the comp, so just hit P on the keyboard and play around with the settings until it looks right. When you're done, it should look similar to this. Next, create another new comp and call it Crawl Final and drop your original crawl comp into it. From there, we'll set it to a 3D layer by checking this box, hit R on your keyboard and we'll change the X rotation to -71. Now let's scale it in to make sure it's not cut off on the edges. We'll then hit A on the keyboard and scrub forward to the 10-second mark and we'll hit the stopwatch. We'll change the anchor point until our title is completely off screen, scrub forward again to the 1 minute 8 second mark and change the anchor point again so that our text is now all scrolled through on screen. Now that the animation is done, just like with the Star Wars logo, we'll keyframe the fade out in the same way. Hit T, set a keyframe just before the animation's done, and then right as the animation is done, take that opacity down to 0. Our last detail is to add a ramp to get that impression of the crawl fading off into the distance. Let's add an adjustment layer, head to Effect, Generate, and add a ramp. We'll then take the eyedropper and select the text color from over yonder. Next, we'll grab the ramp parameters and squeeze them down in order to get the fall off we want. Finally! Let's put it all together and be done with this. Grab your crawl final and drop it into our final comp. Scrub through the comp and make sure it's all synced up and you're done. The final result should look like this. I know this was a longer episode again, guys, but this one has quite a few steps, a bit like the hologram effect. It's not hard, but it just takes a bit of patience. Feel free to play around with the timings and don't be constrained at all by the instructions. Do what works best for you. The timings are more for people that want to emulate the opening crawl to a T. That said, if you're feeling particularly lazy, I've included the whole thing as an After Effects template to download for free. So all you gotta do is just fill in your own crawl. So check that out down below, and that's it for me, guys. There's the Twitter. Comment, like, share, subscribe, and as always, keep learning.